Uh, a warm welcome to this event called Development, Demography and Democracy, Nordic Unity in a New Arctic Order. During the main conference at Arctic Frontiers, security policy has been a big part of the discussion. The world has changed, the Arctic has changed, and this makes us work in the Arctic in a different manner, which is very tragic and sad for many of us who have worked with the Barents Cooperation and the regional cooperation for many, many years. I'm one of them. But we, in the Nordics, we can continue the good cooperation. We can learn from the Barents, still use the structures of the Barents Cooperation, and strengthen our ties. I would like to first welcome Dag Rune Olsen, Director of the Arctic University of Norway, to speak about the importance of knowledge in this picture. Please.
Thank you, Gøril, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about a topic that I think is, at least as I see, is of utmost importance. I think it's fair to say that a university is at its best when it delivers knowledge that businesses can utilize and that politicians can base their best possible decisions on. And we do this, obviously, to build better societies. We have had a meeting today between 5 Arctic universities. We call ourselves the Arctic 5. It's a partnership between our university, the UiT, the Arctic University of Norway, and the universities in Aulu, Lapland, Umeå, and Luleå. And, well, it's not that many minutes, so an hour ago or something like that, we concluded that meeting. That was held at the icebreaker Crown Prince Haakon. And here we sit down with the representatives, obviously, from the academic institutions, but also from businesses and politicians, mayors of the Arctic Mayors Forum, to discuss how can we create a strong arena for cooperation across the countries, across the sectors, that is politics, businesses, and academia. We think that this will be a way forward and will be very important in this new geopolitical situation. And we need to develop the High North for the sake of the countries, but also for the sake of the people in the region. We share initiatives and plans that can make us the leading region for the green transition, which is obviously extremely important these days. But to get there, we need to address common challenges, in particular the future benefit of energy and competent labor, that is people, skilled people. So there's, I think it's fair to say, 3 points, take-home messages, if you like, from the discussions and conversations we had. And, well, first of all, we have to put ourselves in the driver's seat. I can't help telling about a newspaper article I read. I think it was around 5th of May last year, where our Crown Prince and Crown Princess visited their pairs in Stockholm, heading a big business delegation. They talked about the green transition, renewable energies in the south, but it was supposed to take place, happen in the north. But there's very few, if any, from the north participating in that discussion. So we definitely need to take ownership to this discussion. We need to be in the driver's seat ourselves. I mentioned that we had this meeting at the icebreaker. And icebreaker, well, it can take you as long as you like, as far as you like. There's no limits. But when you hit the ice, it becomes extraordinarily noisy. So if you'd like to achieve your goals, reach your destination, we have to stand a bit of noise on the way. But that is something that we have to take that. And then, of course, I think it's fair to say that there are variety, or there are the universities have different strengths, the businesses have different strengths and weaknesses. Of course, not the politicians, there's no weaknesses, but pardon me for saying so. But instead of focusing on perhaps improving our weaknesses, we should build on the common strengths. And through that, we will build partnerships that can develop the High North region for the benefit of society, for people and environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very good to know that the universities now are expanding and developing the cooperation. So, because we really need knowledge in the time ahead in so many areas. The next topic is one of big importance in the Arctic. It's been just debated on the main stage. It's a pleasure to introduce Parahini Parabaran, which is the head of the Youth Council in Troms and Finnmark region. Please, Parahini.
Hi, good evening. My name is Parahini Parabaran, and I am 18 years old and leader of the Youth County Council in Troms and Finnmark. I'm from Karlsøy municipality, but I'm currently living in Tromsø to attend high school. Today I'm going to talk about international cooperation in the Arctic and how it has been to work with international cooperation as a youth politician. The youth county councils in the north are well known for the international cooperations in the Barents region. It is therefore disappointing that almost every possibilities for cooperation that existed before COVID and the war in Ukraine have now disappeared. In 2020, when the new youth county council started their journey as a merged council with both Troms and Finnmark, our dream of growing more international relationship ended before it even started. COVID-19 ruined the plans we made to visit Murmansk. For 2 years, we could not collaborate at all. In early 2022, we finally got the chance to collaborate with Arkhangelsk, and we were excited to get started. But then we got the shocking news. 24th of February, Russia attacked Ukraine. Then again, another opportunity was lost. I think that international cooperation are as mobile phones. You have all your apps, all your contacts, and pictures in it. If the phone gets hacked or stops working, you lost everything you had in it. That means you need to sit down and manually add all the apps and get back all the lost contacts that you have saved up for years. That is what is currently happening to us. We need to restart the process of getting to know other youth councils in other countries and begin again from the start. It is hard to get in contact with other youth councils internationally, especially when you don't know who to contact and how you should contact them. You either need to sit down and wait for someone to walk in through that door and ask you to collaborate, or you need to take the lead and mail every single mail you find on the internet. That is very inconvenient. Also, many of the international seminars and arrangements are made for an older age group, meaning the average youth politician, especially from Norway, where our youth politicians are from 13 to 19 years old, would find it hard to participate in this type of cooperations. That is why it's so important that we preserve the existing structures for cooperation in the Barents region, so that the opportunities of the past generations and we can make something new and better for the future. International cooperation is important for us. We always get called the future, but how can we become the future without learning the importance of international cooperations? This was also one of the feedback points from young people in the annex of the Norwegian white paper in 2020, called An Arctic Policy for Young People. All youth councils and organizations are different. We operate in different ways, and I know we can learn from each other. For example, all youth county councils in Norway are working towards a goal to make a national youth council. Icelandic youth have succeeded in this. This is something we could cooperate with them and learn from their experience. International cooperations like this is what makes us stronger. As well as learning from each other, we can make work towards common goals for a common future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Parahini. And earlier today, you spoke to the Prime Minister in a dedicated youth meeting. It was a very good and inspiring meeting for those of you who speak Norwegian. It's streamed on the Facebook page of Pro Tromsø. And I would also like to add that Daria, who is the head of the Barents Regional Youth Council, is here today with us because the Barents Regional Youth Council actually is functioning because it's a non-state collaboration. So I hope we can bring you into the discussion a little later, Daria. The next topic is very important, business. And we have a very strong group of power women in town from Business Oulu. And it's a pleasure to introduce Johanna Kaminen from Business Oulu to speak about the power of believing, creating business in the Arctic. Please.
Thank you. First, I need to ask you, how many of you has been having a Pecha Kutcha style presentation before? So you know where I'm at. This is my first time ever. And you could just hit it, and it goes just forward. I'm ready or not. You can just push like next slide, and then it rolls. Yes, thank you. Boom! It's an investment boom in northern Norway, Sweden, and Finland. This is something that we are really proud of. The South is talking about, they are whispering about us, and we need to boost also the cross-industry activities cross borders. And because of these big investments, and also because of the change in the geopolitical position, we need to have more strategic and more goal-oriented collaboration between our three northern countries, and have that also in the governmental programs. And because I'm representative of Business Oulu and the city of Oulu, I have the opportunity to introduce you some of the investments that are going on in our region. In Oulu, we have 250 inhabitants. We are smart and young. Young, 37 years old is the average age, actually. First, Oulu is #1 in R&D investments in Finland and one of the top ones in the European level also. Nokia is still strongly believing us and investing in Oulu. They are now building a new R&D and production campus nearby the university. Estimated investment is to 20 million. And next to the radio campus, next to the is a radio park. And don't mind about the old-fashioned name. It's about for the companies, for all companies that are using wireless technology and utilizing also 5G and 6G. Future Hospital 2030, it's up and running. But the thing with the Future Hospital is the way it has been built. It has been planned and built in a smart way, taking care of the patient and other customer flows inside of the buildings. And here I want to highlight the OISTER, Europe's leading center for social and healthcare research and piloting. So that is also for the future technology in healthcare that are utilizing, again, the wireless and 5G and 6G research. Stora Enso, a big investment. They are now starting the second production line and they are now recruiting. And there comes the one topic that we are probably going to discuss here today also, is the difficulty of recruitment. But not only about the talent attraction, but also keeping the people. in the region. And here I want to bring the investment opportunity. Beer refinery. We have to offer a ready infrastructure, but also the synergy between the different businesses. Talking about green transition and also the independence of power, we need to talk about hydrogen. Hydrogen is probably going to be the global thing in 2050, so now is our chance to be the forerunners in research, production and use of hydrogen. And still keeping up with the topic of green energy, wind power. Oulu is number one in producing wind power in Finland. We are producing almost 50% of it. But the business opportunities are related, especially in offshore. European Capital of Culture. It's going to bring visibility to all our regions, and I hope that we will find different kind of collaborate also around this topic, and also congratulations for Bude. So, cross-border collaboration, cross-industry collaboration, be our friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was an excellent presentation, even though you doubted yourself in the beginning. So do it again, Johanna. Those of you who have walked the streets of Tromsø or even in this hotel, you probably noticed that we have so many guests from all over the world. The tourism is really blooming. French people, people from Asia. So after COVID, Tromsø is really having a big comeback of tourists and visitors. So we look forward to hearing from Jon Erlend Alstad from Best Arctic, who will speak about sustainable tourism across borders. Please.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell you a little success story from the travel trade. It has been some difficult years. I never thought that I ever experienced, I worked for different companies for the last 30 years, and I never thought that I experienced a total shutdown before. But in March 2020, it went from full steam to nothing. Can you imagine a company suddenly experiencing no turnover? Not a reduced turnover, but no turnover. That's what we experienced back in 2020. Those days are luckily history. Now we have our view, our eyes pointing forward, and I'm happy to say that the market is back 110% from 2019. Best Arctic Group, I'm the CEO of a company called Best Arctic Group. We are a northern Norwegian company based here in Tromsø with also an office in Narvik. We have a turnover of a yearly about 17 million euros. Best known for some red buses. Maybe you've seen some red buses around Tromsø. We have 42 of them stationed around in northern Norway. Very proud of those. And with those, we also operate a product we call the Arctic Route. And that's the success story and that I will use a few minutes to talk about today. But first of all, the team, the title I was giving to this little speech was Sustainable Tourism. And what is sustainable tourism? Well, I came across earlier this week a publication called Much Better Adventures. And there was an article in this publication called It's Time to Talk About Tourism's Dirty Secret. And what is tourism's dirty secret? Well, it's something we call tourism leakage. And what is tourism leakage? It is value creation ending up elsewhere, quite simply. I went to the Maldives with my wife last week, celebrating my 25 years of marriage. I'm not going to go into details around that, but I looked into that travel we did back then, and we traveled with British Airways to the Maldives. That turnover ended up in the UK. We stayed at an American-owned resort, And we bought scuba trips, whale watching, safaris, and bicycles from this resort. That turnover ended up in the US. We were served Australian wine. We ate Indonesian tuna. And we also ate some bananas from Costa Rica. You get my point? Where value creation? And that is sustainability, ladies and gentlemen. In Best Arctic, we have a very high focus on this. We want to support local businesses. We want to work in partnership with local businesses. We have around 40,000 guests each winter on different activities in the Tromsø region. We served these guests together with our local partners. We have hosts receiving them. We have 7 different camps. The locals get their turn. They get their part of the turnover. And this is key to making a sustainable future for tourism, to avoid this dirty secret that I mentioned to you. Very important part of the Best Arctic Group strategy going forward. The Arctic Route. The Arctic Route was founded back in 2016. The idea behind the Arctic Route was to combine what I would call complementary experiences across regions and borders. And we have a lot of them, folks, especially between Finland, Sweden, and the Arctic area of Norway. Actually 3 years ago, we started the route between Rovaniemi and Tromsø. The first year, I think we had about 350 guests. We drove every day from the 1st of December until the end of March. And if you divide 350 guests on those days, you can see there went many on each bus. So we lost a lot of money on this. But we believed in this passionately, this combination between the regions. And the year after, we didn't drive because it was COVID shutdown. Last year, we drove again, partly shut down. And we had about 400 guests. This year, ladies and gentlemen, I checked it just before I left the office, 3,500 bookings. So it shows stamina. You have to, when you believe in something, you have to stand by it. And that's it. It is my message today. And this is the success story I wanted to tell you about. We need even stronger cooperation across borders. This Arctic route was initiated by an Interreg project called Visit Arctic Europe. Instrumental in terms of getting this development going. 6 or 7 years of going. Unfortunately, from last autumn onwards, the finances stopped. This is a pity, folks, because again, it takes stamina. And Visit Arctic Europe has been vital in our development of the Arctic route. So I urge you, people with influence, to get this going again. It has a massive potential, combining the fantastic products of northern Finland with our whales and our mountains and our fjords. It creates a better customer experience. So please, everyone with influence, ensure that this Interreg project across borders gets up and going again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jon Erlend Alstad, for a very concrete delivery and message and to take home and work further with. This event is hosted together with the Nordic Council of Ministers, and there's a very strong Nordic research institute called Nordregio. And we are very pleased to have one of the experts here, Senior Research Fellow Anna Karlsdottir. Please, we look forward to hearing the opportunities seen from a research perspective.
Okay. Hi, hi. Hello. Okay. But I was asked to, sort of from the Nordic perspective, give you some perspectives on what, I mean, the strongholds of the Nordic cooperation for this region in the future. And one of the keys in this cooperation in the Nordic context is trust. And the Nordic region has actually the highest level of social trust worldwide, according to surveys. And this is a pretty strong attribute. We heard it this morning in a session, a youth representative repeat trust and safety, trust and safety. And these seem also to be the values that remain with the youth that want to live and act in this region in future to come. So I think we have to flag this strong image that prevails of the Nordic countries as pioneers in a citizen democracy where the rule of law and functioning administration still works. In spite of some challenges, of course, we can mention a few like climate crisis, effects of COVID, growing income gaps, etc. But it's realizing the fundamental rights in the future that matters and organizing welfare. That's absolutely a common goal across the Nordic countries. And it has to be the vision and guiding perspective to the Nordic countries and the Arctic regions to deliver resilient and thriving communities. And I think this conference addresses this quite clearly, mentioning the new industrialization of the North. But trust as a common value where we share histories, share values, is absolutely the key because it benefits both the economy, individuals, and society as a whole. Now, I just want to mention that there are some common themes and topics and focuses where we need to strengthen the view, and this is associated with the new industrialization of the North. We've seen that investment lust fails nothing, and there's a lot of green transition opportunities. This addresses a shift. In demography, with the demography going in downward spiral for quite a long time, this is turning. And now the challenge is securing competitiveness while accommodating rapidly increased population. And how well embedded will this process be ahead remains to be seen. Will it be guided towards local prosperity where we create conciliation among locals too? That is a very important question. There are lots of perspectives to consider, from cultural heritage to balancing growth and well-being. And filling the void will include reorientation towards Nordic unity. And I think it may entail a courage to cross and bridge the classical divide between East and West Nordic countries. Usually we focus either to the Atlantic area or we focused inland to the North Calotte. But we have to bear in mind that Norway, in fact, holds interest in both camps due to its geography. So let it be my last word that Greenland, Iceland, Faroe Islands, they have the capacity to bring useful perspectives to secure stronger Nordic unity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was a very good reminder that we have the tendency to think Norway, Finland, Sweden, but we also have to maybe orient ourselves more towards also the other Nordic countries. It's a pleasure for me now to welcome the first panel, Ambassador Dag Stangnes, Ambassador Timo Tanner. Please welcome Mayor Karina Sammeli from Luleå, please. And then Rector Dag Rune Olsen. I would like to start with you, Ambassador Stangnes. Is it a good day for, you are the Norway's ambassador to Finland. You are based in Helsinki, and today you are in Tromsø, and you witness a quite strong collaboration between Norway and Finland on the local and regional level. Are you happy?
Yes, I am very happy. I must say, this is my 4th Arctic Frontiers, and I've seen a development, a very positive development on what concerns me the most, and that is the Finnish-Norwegian cooperation, but in general, Arctic cooperation or cooperation in the north. Just as a comparison to last year's Arctic Frontiers in May, today and this year's conference is a completely different conference. We see its energy, its activity, it's a lot of people. I think we all struggle to find, there's a double bookings and triple bookings to come to interesting presentations. And what I see, really pleases me is the very prominent and big Finnish footprint here in Tromsø at this conference, and that is really a very good sign. I really hope we could have the same Norwegian footprint in conferences in Finland, because this is, and also of course in Sweden when that's the case. So yes, I am very, very happy.
That's a good bridge to Finland's ambassador to Norway, Ambassador Timo Tanner. Business Oulu is co-hosting this event together with Pro Tromsø, the University of Norway's Arctic University, as well as Tromsø municipality. And you are an ambassador, you are based in the capital, and we are here in the north. Does this cooperation in the north help with a bigger picture also?
Well, I'm quite recent actually in Norway. I came in last September as ambassador, and I had read, of course, testaments of my predecessors, and I think the key message was that Norway is not Oslo. It is much more. It is way up to the north. Of course, as Finland, an Arctic country also, this was of course evident, but I made a promise to myself that I will travel up north as much as possible. I've been now so far to Bodø and now to Tromsø, and I think in 1 month's time I'll be in Kirkenes. So this will be the way I will be moving. And of course, what helps me in the current job is that I think the cooperation with Norway is really in a new revival after our application and future membership to NATO. We've had really intense cooperation, so there's this security dimension which you can also sort of transject to the north, because thinking of Norway's role in security terms, it is very important for us also.
Thank you. The mayor of Luleå, it's a great pleasure to have you here also representing the local level. And yesterday you were part of the opening of the Arctic Mayors Forum Secretariat. What does it mean to you to also have this sort of diplomatic cooperation on the mayor's level?
Well, it is very important to meet colleagues, and when I meet them, I realize that we are actually facing the same challenges. It's very, very easy to read the newspaper in Sweden and think that everything is focused on Sweden, and then I go to Ola and meet Mirja, and she's telling me the same story, and I realize, this is not the Swedish thing that's going on. And on being new, I'm 2 years into my office, and when I talked to the former mayors, they had a different life because it's so much going on in this area right now. So it's a quite special situation. And one of my most important job is like to tell the Swedish state and the national level in Sweden, you realize what's going on up in the north, and it is going on in all 3 countries. And that is something that we need to cooperate about, because this is a quite new political agenda that's going on. And it's due to very many different things. We have crisis and crisis and crisis going on for the past years. We have the pandemic, of course, and the just-in-time delivery system that's been ruling the world for like 20 years. It's not working anymore. It seems that it's good to have a democracy. You can rely on like delivery there. The industries and the companies want a closer chain, a value chain that they can rely on, and they need a good climate for that. And then we need minerals, and we do not want to be dependent on Russia or China anymore. And we need minerals, and we have a climate crisis. And when we need to get rid of the fossil fuels, we need something else, like renewable energy. Well, that's in this area. And everything is right now pointing to the north. And it's not pointing to the north of Sweden, it's pointing to the north. And then we need to cooperate. And for me, it's important to test the people in the Arctic is a part of this development.
Between the mayors, do you sort of help each other getting the messages through to the capitals?
Yeah, we do, and we talk about it. How can we talk about this, and especially how can we be a voice in the Arctic policy making to make sure that what we see every day is created a future for us, with us, not for us, for someone else thinking about how it should be. But the people living in the Arctic must be a part of this. So yes, we are talking about that and making strategies for it, of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would like to bring in the rector of the Arctic University of Norway, Dag Rune Olsen. I know that today you hosted a big meeting with businesses and the Prime Minister, and where you spoke both about development in the Arctic and the Nordic countries from the perspective of both businesses and knowledge. What role can a university play, in the Arctic? Of course, knowledge is very important, but do you also see a bigger role for your institution?
Thank you for asking. And well, you didn't really ask whether I was happy, but for the records,
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yes.
So, make no mistake, I'm very happy.
Good.
I definitely think there's a bigger role for universities. Yes, we do educate young people, talented young people from the north, up north, but also from the south. Perhaps they will stay here. And we do conduct research, of course. That's the core of what a university does. And that is also how we sort of serve societies. But I think we need to see that this sort of sectorial thinking doesn't work anymore. So, well, we can be very good at what we are doing, but if that doesn't talk to the businesses and the politicians, etc., as I mentioned earlier on, it doesn't really do the trick. And I think that's quite obvious now these days. Up north in Kirkenes, you will probably participate in Kirkenes-konferensen when the sanction related to Russia invading Ukraine, we saw, well, severe consequences for the society there. So we tried then to set up definitely new types of educational schemes for some of those who potentially might lose their jobs and things like that. I think we need to collaborate across sectors. We have to get out of our silos and realize that, when this university opened 50 years ago, it was in order to provide this part of the country with medical doctors and things like that, because the health state was miserable, and it worked tremendously well. So we are not only here to conduct research and educate people without any further objective or aim or goal. It is here for a society, in a society, with the society.
And the Ambassador Tanner mentioned the new situation, new security situation, which concerns the North very much. Do you see stronger need to have experts in the Arctic commenting on security situation? Do
Oh.
you have I know you have strong experts in your university, but there is a saying, for example, from the Norwegian government that you should have knowledge on the Arctic, in the Arctic. Do you see an increased attention for expert advice on security policy questions as well?
I wish I could say yes, but some would say that, well, there's very little you can do these days, so forget about that. I think it's more important than ever to try to understand our big neighbor, Russia. We can't collaborate with the Russian institutions, that's for sure, and we won't be able to do that for quite some years. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to understand. It's our biggest neighbor. It's 40% of the Arctic. Very prominent with respect to climate change. That will affect all of us. Of course, what we see now as a consequence of the war, or the sheer fact that we do have a war, points at the fact that we do need to understand politics, society, economy, cultures, languages when it comes to Russia. But we also need to understand that in a bigger geopolitical context. So I think there's definitely a role for increasing the attention, the awareness, and our focus with respect to that. But we also have to add to it that it doesn't really mean a lot to Norway's foreign policy if we just conduct our research and keep the knowledge within the walls of the university. We need to engage in science advice, science diplomacy to the much larger extent, so we actually can utilize that knowledge.
Thank you very much. I wanted to bring in Ambassador Tanner because being a NATO member, further down the road will also be a totally new situation for Finland. Can you explore a little bit on this, what it will mean in the Nordic context?
Yes, well, I mean, speaking of Nordic cooperation, our NATO membership, of course, will, I think, strengthen this cooperation even more. I mean, there's, of course, a long tradition of cooperation already, and Finland has been a partner of NATO since 1993. So, I mean, there is a kind of a backdrop to all what has been done so far. But it's clear that since we'll all be NATO members, it will have a new significance, the cooperation. We will have more exercises, and of course, we will become part of NATO's planning. So that is a clear sort of new step that will happen. And of course, in the Nordic context, we have already taken decisions prior to the membership that this sort of Nordic level planning will start. So I think this is a new situation, and what my hope is that this will reflect then on other areas of cooperation. Also on the economic side, what we are doing together is very important in the future.
Thank you very much. So Ambassador Dag Stangnes, do you think because sometimes of course the security situation is really serious and scary for many people, but increased military presence sometimes is also presented as a business opportunity for the Arctic. Soldiers, training, presence, that it could be an opportunity for local business development. What's your view on this?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in business opportunities, but yes, I think in general, yes, the NATO membership for Finland and Sweden is very important in many ways. It is. I think, I wouldn't say mentally, but it is a change. It is a change. The concept is changed now. Now we are all allies, and that's one thing. So the whole security and defense planning, and as Timo said, it is a change to the better, I believe. It also gives attention to our neighbors. Always, both or three ways. And I think that's what I see from Helsinki is that what lacks in the Finnish Norwegian cooperation is attention, is knowledge, and for instance when it comes to business opportunities. And because it's so easy for us Norwegians to go to Sweden and to Denmark and maybe the UK or Germany, and we could go easily to Finland too. But in a way, especially in the south, it's easier in the north because we're so close. But we have a tendency of forgetting. So what we need, I mean, is we get more attention, we get more focus now on the whole Nordic cooperation in general. I think the global security situation is changing, meaning that we will see more cooperation and more business in the regional context. You know, we can't let everything happen in China. We have to take some things back because of security concerns.
So that's also a matter of national interest to strengthen the businesses in the north.
Definitely.
Want to bring in
Definitely.
Mayor Samli on this.
And I just want to comment that I do not work for the foreign ministry in Sweden, but I would say that Sweden and Finland joining NATO will probably affect us as much as the green transition of the industry. There are massive, if we are going into a common planning for Northern Europe, that will affect us. It will affect us military, but also support each other and talking to each other and starting looking on the other side of the border. What's the railroad looking at there? How can we transport each other? How can we communicate? That will affect us very, very much. But I do not yet know how, since we're not yet a member and we haven't started being a part of the planning. But yes, I would say that will affect us very, very much. Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to ask you also, Rector, back to you, because your university was heavily involved in the Barents cooperation, and you still have many students from Russia. Can you say a little bit about this?
Well, the Barents cooperation was quite important for us, and the legacy of this university, I would say, is to a large extent a very fruitful collaboration with neighboring institutions in Russia. Strongly linked to developing healthcare services in Arkhangelsk, well, a number of institutions. And I think that was something we should still be proud of. When you look at the broader collaboration we had with Russian institutions, it's like that our university, University of the Arctic, have approximately 250, 270 agreements, MOUs with international universities. 1 out of 5 was with Russian institutions. So that had a severe impact on our university. Of course, that's nothing compared to the war itself, but it says something about the change that we need to adapt to. So now we try to find out how can we sort of refocus. Yes, we do know that we need to understand Russia. We do have a Barents Institute in Kirkenes. We are not going to diminish our interest in Russia, but it has to find different ways. At the same time, we have to take up the partnership across northern part of Norway, Sweden and Finland. Yes, it is because we have a strong relationship with the universities up north already, but we also see the possibility that a new geopolitical situation represents, and it's important that we realize and grab that opportunity. And I think we can learn a lot from the Barents experience in how we collaborate. Now it will be different actors, players, but that will be very important for us in the years to come to build on that, but now in a different way.
Thank you. Ambassador Stangnes.
Just a comment on your sector, Rector, and that is what we see, and what you describe is the very close. You describe all the agreements and the research cooperation, but what we see also is that the exchange of students, should increase, And we know that there's not many Finnish students at your university, and there's not many Norwegian students at Finnish universities. And I believe, that we should have some incentives to increase this student exchange, because this is what this is the investment in the future relationships. You know, people who have spent half a year in Oulu or Rovaniemi, Norwegians will maybe use that as a business opportunity later on, and so on. So find some incentives. You know, maybe create degrees that you have an exchange program.
He's very eager to answer you.
Yeah. I challenge you.
Yeah.
Short answer, yes, yes, and yes. I think there is a tendency for us in Norway, well, I think you also touched upon it yourself, that we look south. We look to UK, we go to holidays in the south and things like that, and we built up relationship in the north, along the north-south dimension. Now that has to change. And we need to come up with mechanisms, but also create a culture for our students to find it interesting to go to Sweden or to Finland. It's not huge. The cultural differences are not huge. You won't experience the same as if you go to the other part of the globe in Australia, whatever it is. But we have to, and I think that is a common challenge for all of us up north, and that is to be or to develop and be seen as very, very attractive. That is for the businesses, it's for the societies, and it's for academia. Otherwise, we won't change that.
Thank you, Ambassador Tonner.
Yeah, just to add, I think Doug's point is very relevant and ties into the discussion of how to attract skilled labor in certain sectors, like we talked about batteries today, where we have Norway, Sweden, Finland, all developing this value chain. If we know each other better, I think there's then much more opportunities. And I think we have to work together also in the recruitment. I mean, it should be a win-win situation and not a lose-lose situation in recruitment.
Thank you very much. Ambassador, while you have the microphone, I want to ask you about the EU. We are going to change the panel in a minute, but the EU was mentioned earlier, EU programs. And what's your comment on that, EU being Finland being a member of the EU, all the opportunities, the programs, shall we try to work more with the EU?
I'm sure that we should always look at the EU, because EU is us, and I mean, Norway is part of the ESS, so I think Norway also benefits from EU programs. So it's part of us, so we always have to look at them. And the EU has now an Arctic policy. I think there are 3 communications already, and it's planned now that the Council will take another position on that. So I mean, we just have to press the EU to keep also their, let's say, sight on the northern hemisphere. I think that is very important. And there is money to go around at the regional level also. So I think that is a very good point.
Thank you. Rector, very short comment.
EU is very important with respect to funding when it comes to innovation, when it comes to research, and of course higher education. What I wanted to say is that the EU Arctic strategy of EU, it's of course very valid because it takes care of the environment and those kind of things and the climate. But I think we need to provide them with some insight knowledge, research-wise, or research-based, knowledge-based, for the development of the Arctic, where we also see that societies and people can live, because that is not as clear in the current strategy as it should be.
Mayor Samli, I'm going to give the floor to you last before we change. Would you like to comment on the EU opportunities?
Yes, and the EU has big opportunities, and we are also using them quite a lot, actually. And we can also use them to across the border, and that is what I think we should do more. Because many of the programs fundings, they are now being used nationally. Every country makes their own rules, and we see when we are able to apply for money across the border, then it's much more easy to start projects and start getting the communication. So that is also something that we need to tell the European Union, that make more funding so we can cooperate across the borders, because that will help us to do that, actually.
Very good point. Thank you very much to this panel. So it's a pleasure for me to welcome the next panel, Ambassador Jari Vilén, Ambassador for Barents and Northern Dimension, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Please, Ambassador Lauri Bambus, Ambassador of Estonia to Norway, Mayor of the City of Umeå, Marie-Louise Rønmark, and Sebastian Henriksen, who is a local politician and also a member of the Norwegian Olympic and Paralympic Committee and Confederation of Sports and Barents Sports member. And you also participated in the youth panel to the previous government that was launched in 2020, but it was in the report that was politically independent. I want to start with Ambassador Jari Vilén, because you are in charge. We spoke about the Barents cooperation in the last panel. You are actually in charge of the Finnish chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, and you had so many plans, and then suddenly things changed. Please let us know how things are now for you.
Thank you, Jari. Well, actually, what I've been trying to do is just follow your example, because I took the presidency from you. Actually, in this hotel, in this place, 21st of October 2021, we took over the presidency, successful presidency of the Norway to Finland. And those who were present here can remember how the world was different. When the ministers had exactly the same kind of thoughts and ideas, the youth panel was excellent here. We were full of optimism, and we were committed to continue the work that Norway had done.
And Foreign Minister Lavrov was here.
Minister Lavrov was here, and he said all the right things in that time. But as we have seen, the rhetorics can change. But the 24th of February changed everything. I was in Kirkenes in that time and woke up to the war. And actually, what happened in that morning maybe defines also the character of the Finnish Barents presidency. We had a very quick meeting with organizers in Kirkenes. What to do? Should we cancel the whole conference? Should we go home and think what has happened? And immediately we decided that no, we will not stop. On the contrary, to show the support to the Ukraine, to showing that what we do has a purpose, it has a meaning, and it has a meaning without the Russians, we'll have to continue. And that has been the motto for the Finnish presidency for the whole time. We have not stopped shy of anything what we planned together. And actually, what I have, excuse my expression, what I have rubbed to the nose of the Russians, what we have done, we have fulfilled the program what also Minister Lavrov committed himself here in this hotel in October 21. We have added one more element, and that's the green transition, as a response of the Russian energy war against us. That's why we need to do the green transition. So we have not done anything which has not been planned in there. And we've been able to do that in the format which is so-called Friends of the Presidency. We decided the 9th of March, so very quickly after the war started, we get together in Stockholm, and we decided that we will continue so that we keep the structures, we suspend all the cooperation with Russia, but Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, the European Union will continue.
So there is no contact with Russia within the Barents cooperation on the official level?
I would call that the door is closed, but it's not locked.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jari. I would like to go to Mayor Rønmark. Actually, when Norway had the chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, Umeå was a very important city because Västerbotten had the regional chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. What are your perspectives in the new Arctic order? You're also a member of the Arctic Mayors Forum. You work closely with many other cities in the Arctic. Please, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, it's a new map. I was before also chair of the international group for association of regions and municipalities, setting up in Ukraine service center and also digitalize Ukraine. So it was hard the end of February when we met what was happening. So my heart is there. So when I listen to what we have to do, we have to cooperate between each other. Cooperation is necessary. But I will tell you, I don't like being also protectionist. I was visiting when it was the big fight of Brexit. I was visiting the parliament in England, Great Britain, and they said they were talking about the Brexit. But on the side, when we were having the dinner, they said, "You have to help us because we don't want to get out because there is a big problem being standing on the side." So there is, I will say one thing. We have to put the Arctic question as number one. We have to change the map, starting up from the middle of the Arctic, and the other one can help coming up. I will, I say that because when we were the European Capital of Culture, I was at the jury in Brussels, and the chairman said to me, "How can you be the capital of culture in Europe? Up there on the 64 degrees, I will show you." And then after that, he told me, "Yes, you did. You went with Volvo back to London, everywhere, to show what art is, what a city of Umeå is, what culture means." So good luck, Bodø.
Yes.
And so on. Tromsø, yes.
Yes.
Because we have to be outside as well as we are focusing what is the big power.
You mentioned that you went to London and spoke to contacts there. Do you often experience that people have a different perception of the Arctic than what is your reality in a city like Umeå?
Yes. Because we haven't been so proud of being from Arctic.
Yeah.
So we have to raise the neck and say, "Welcome. You're losing something if you don't come to the Arctic." So the 5 universities, the Arctic Mayors Forum, will change the
And
map.
people are really moving to Umeå,
Yes.
as I hear. You're growing and you have people coming to live.
Yeah.
You have some advice for
Yes.
Tromsø and the other cities?
Yes, I have one advice. Try to focus to be an attractive city. Last year, we had an award, you know Cointreau? Have you been drinking Cointreau? Yeah. They have a big reward. Normally, this one is in Singapore, New York, and so on the big cities in the world. With the best chefs, they're making the book of food and so on. Everybody is around that. This is the 2nd year they are coming to Umeå. Because they say, he was asking me, what is the climate? You're so friendly and you are having open eyes and so on. And I think that is the recipe to bake a nice city where people want to stay or arrive to.
That's a very good bridge. I want to bring in Sebastian first, because you are also, that's also your kind of spirit. You are from Tromsø, you are young, you are from the north, you are very active, involved, and you also have participated in the Barents Cooperation Please share your perspectives.
Yes, indeed, and I totally agree with the mayor. You have to have attractive cities that young people want to be a part of the development, to be a part of the city. You have to have great sport venues, to invest in sports, culture, activities, and that's also one of the main topics in the white paper from our youths. So it's very important to have that and good business and good workplace for youths. And for the Norwegian Olympic Committee that I'm representing, the Nordic unity and the collaboration is very important. Our Nordic friends is our best friends in working with changing the international sports family, to have more inclusion, to have more equal rights for women, minorities. So I strongly believe that the Nordic collaboration is more important than ever. And I think you said it very well with the door is not, it's closed, but it's not locked. Mm.
So do you know, have you heard of more initiatives, or do you see on the local level that people are starting to talk more to friends in Umeå, Luleå, Rovaniemi and Oulu? Do you hear about more initiatives?
Yes, indeed, and I think the potential is amazing because my grandfather was a part of the Kalotten Games, Kalottenlekene, and I have been a part of Barents Games, traveling to Russia, to Finland, to Sweden, competing, been a part of the leader program for young leaders in Barents, and it's a very good start to building the Nordic collaboration even stronger.
Do you have Russian friends that you knew from the Barents Cooperation, and do you stay in touch with them? What are your personal experience of this new security situation?
You know, for me as a youth in Arctic, it was very strange to come to Russia for the first time. It is a different country in many ways, but when we all meet up at the football field or we have a common dinner, we talk about the same things. We talk about Haaland and Cristiano Ronaldo, and we talk about sports, movies, and Tom Cruise. So I have had a lot of Russian friends, and I'm very sad about today's situation. Of course, mostly for Ukraine, but a lot of Russian people, I don't think they support this, and this is a war from the government, and that is very difficult for the Norwegian Olympic Committee because sport is a very high influential force, as you all know. So in many governments, like in China and Russia, sport is used to sports washing and to build the nation's identity. So therefore, the Olympic Committee has a very firm stand when it comes to Belarus and Russia. So we don't want them to compete international or nationally.
Thank you, Sebastian. I've been looking forward to inviting Ambassador Lori Bambus to us because you are from Estonia and you have the sort of outside perspective on the Nordics, and the Baltic countries also have a painful experience with our common neighbor Russia. Please share your views.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed, of course, having me in this panel. And well, of course, it's great honor to be in the Nordic family. As the Minister of Scotland said, well, Scotland is the closest non-Arctic observers. Then we had also the arguments last year that maybe Estonia is still the closest. And then I measured on the map, and then, well, indeed, he's right. But of course, many of you may know that Estonia also put forward the application to get the observer status at the Arctic Council during the Icelandic presidency, but due to different things, it was postponed. And of course, now during the Russian presidency, it's not the issue, and all the contacts and all the relations with our eastern neighbor are really frozen on all levels. So if Jari started, also remember last year, 23rd and 24th of February, just to remind you that 24th of February is Estonian Independence Day. So of course, when we woke up last year, it was shock to all country because we were all ready to celebrate our Independence Day, but then we realized that, well, the war is just next to our doors as well. So this year, when we are celebrating our 105th anniversary, we are also having this first commemoration of the full scale of war with Ukraine. So, of course, we support fully Ukrainians, and you know that quite a big percentage of our, let's say, support, military support, humanitarian support is going to Ukraine. Coming back to, of course, the Arctic and Arctic family, through, I think, even centuries, even if Estonia was not independent already on the 19th century, we had many sea explorers and those times also scientific workers who were very much interested in the polar researches. And of course, during our first Republic time, as we call it, from 1918, and of course during these 30 last years, we have very close contacts between the universities, between the researchers of all Arctic countries. And definitely there are many things where we can also offer from our side. It's not anymore that, yes, Estonia is somewhere far away and, well, they don't know what's going on. World is getting smaller, and everything which is happening in one region, it has also effects to the whole world. And of course, all those stories around the Arctic, that the climate change and indigenous people, the jobs and social issues, these are also very well known for Estonia. For Estonian public, private sectors, academia, so we are all working together. And I would like to also say that sometimes, I don't know about Sweden and Finland exactly, but in Norway, being ambassador to Norway, I hear quite often, Norway is a small country. Even during this conference, I've heard from the panelists, Norway is a small country. Look, Estonia, it's much smaller. Hello, population. But still we have the same issues, by the way. The population density, for example. Estonia is, by the size of the territory, it's smaller than, for example, Netherlands, but population in Netherlands, it's 17.5 million, we have 1.3 million. So here I see much more parallels with Nordic countries. And I think also the mentality, the openness. Of course, Estonia has always looked at the Nordic countries as the societies which are transparent and, well, always open to the people. So, and the digital world, which is now we are creating and we are working together, gives us a lot of opportunities, really. We have had, for example, e-health, online learning, just few things. Well, it's exactly 18 years ago we started with the e-voting, for example. Yes. This year we have also parliamentary elections. E-voting, it's growing popularity. When I discussed in Britain, for example, that, well, we have such kind of tool, they asked, how big is the turnout of those who voted? I said, yes, it's growing, it's 27, and out of, let's say, 63. And Brit said, oh, we have still already 63. But I would say that if you have more opportunities to be open for your societies, for your people, there are more also the back you get from people. So, of course, there are many samples where we can bring also in science, in research, in everyday social life, in everyday digital life.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Very interesting. In many ministries of foreign affairs, for example, in Oslo and also in the Foreign Office in London, it's one unit. It's called Nordic-Baltic Unit. So do you want to really strengthen the Nordic-Baltic cooperation?
Indeed, and I must say that, well, when we regained the independence in the 1991, once again, of course, Estonia and our southern neighbors, Latvians, Lithuanians, we all wanted immediately to make this group of Nordic-Baltic. It wasn't so easy But right now, I have to say that, well, we are a very good family, so we are very proud to be in this Nordic Baltic 8. It's not only Nordic 5 or, well, secret language of the Scandinavians, etc. So we are also in. Thank you. And once again, in the big globe, we are still small family, but we must be pioneering for the others. We must inspire also the other regions in the EU and in Europe, in the world.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I have a short comment from Jari, and then I want to open up for some questions from the audience. Please, Ambassador.
I try to be brief, but I just wanted to touch upon this importance of the Arctic that we mentioned in here. Yes, the global political change has made the Arctic much more important. But the sad fact is that if you look, for example, in the European Union, remember the EU Commission started as a commission focused on Africa. Then came the pandemics, then came the war. And I think gradually, Commission is waking up all the opportunities in the Arctic. But it has been a very long process, and it's not self-evident fact. And of course, coming myself from the Tornedalen område, I have to always challenge my neighbors and my relatives and my cousins in Sweden. Have you looked in the Swedish EU presidency program? There's not a single word about Arctic or Barents or the North itself. Yes, the Swedish government invited the Commission to visit the Kiruna, but I really looking forward to the Swedish presidency because this is the unique momentum to raise the Arctic through the presidency to agenda, secure the conclusions that we need to have for the European Arctic strategy and utilize the momentum. Or otherwise, I put all my faith to our Spanish colleagues because they will be taking over after the Sweden. That's what the case is.
Mary Samley, do you want a short comment? Are you upset about this?
Very, but now I'm calm because I'm hungry. No, I was looking at that last week as well and told them that it's horrible. You should put it as number 1, but I will be in Kiruna.
So
but that is not the answer.
So you are going to keep fighting from.
Yeah.
Please, Ambassador.
Just also very small comment, because, well, I mentioned already as we talked also to Rector that, well, there are good cooperation between our researchers and universities also on the Arctic issue. And I also mentioned good cooperation between businesses. But I forgot to mention, of course, the cultural bridges. Yes. It was mentioned many times, the European capital of culture in Buda, but with Buda, it's Tartu in Estonia as well. So we have many cooperation also in the cultural. You see, we are now too back.
So,
please.
You see, we can be smart. Though all the crisis around, we have to put it at the agenda, and we can go different ways. But it's horrible that you have a security problem, a war in Europe. That is the first time when they put it on the agenda. Yeah. Maybe. But they have to. Because, yes, they have to. I think that is the answer.
Well, the crisis makes us always also stronger together. So we are more united. Yeah. I should argue that, well, we are more united right now rather than... Thank you.
We have a bell alliance between Sweden and Estonia now.
I think you need to drink coffee afterwards, the two of you. Do we have any questions from our audience? Daria, would you like to say something? Just, yeah. Daria is the chairwoman of the Barents Regional Youth Council. And you are from Russia, but you live in Copenhagen, right?
Yes. It is. It has been a very, very complicated year for us because we are slightly older, though, than the Youth Council in Tromsø, and we noticed that we are growing older and older as well each year, which is kind of a bad tendency. But I feel like with everything that has happened through the last year made us 20 years older. Because I was also in Kirkenes that day, and I also woke up with the same feeling as Jari and as everyone who was there. I haven't seen my family in 3 years. We are taking care of our participants who are, or our council members who are still in Russia. But I would like to say that even though the Barents cooperation is not mentioned on the bigger Arctic platforms as much, and even though most of the researchers, most of the activists, most of the practitioners and the bureaucrats who are arriving to the bigger events, they are not paying as much attention to the fact that the Barents has been almost the most peaceful structure, geopolitical structure and the diplomatic structure. And we are very glad for the Finnish presidency to take such a huge turn in their policy, to adapting so well to all the circumstances that we have. And we are in the process of creating of the Russian dimension. It is also supported by the Nordic Council of Ministers, who have launched a series of grants for creation of the network of the Russians, and young Ukrainians that have been affected, of course, in a very, very different context. But we are trying to stay in touch with the young people who used to live in the Russian Barents and who are residing in the Nordic countries right now. And we hope that even on the informal point, we will still have the points for the cooperation. But of course, the majority of our projects and the majority of our events are targeting the Nordic youth. We believe that the Nordic Arctic cooperation will be stronger than ever, but please don't forget about the Barents. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good
If I
point.
just very briefly say that sometimes it makes sense to be smaller, because we've been mentioning here that the small can be smart and flexible and innovative. So in a way, Barents, it's easier to make the decision because there's less member states. And I believe, as I said in the beginning, we've been able to create the modus operandi, which hopefully can be also utilized maybe in the future when the Norway will take over the Arctic Council presidency.
What will happen to the transfer of the... So I'm sorry for asking this question, because you are my friend, but...
We actually have the double challenge that first of all we have to secure that the Arctic Council presidency will move from Russia to Norway in an organized manner. And then, of course, the Norway will have to decide how to operate the presidency, what they have. As I indicated to you, the Friends of the Presidency model has been quite successful for us. What we have, and I think this is even bigger challenge, what we have to do and then decide what we do with the Finnish presidency, which is ending in October. According to our rotation calendar, which is the normal one, I should be supposed to be handing over the presidency to Russia. But again, I'm so confident with my friends from Sweden that if we don't do that, and I don't speculate anything, the rotation means that it will be the Sweden would have to take over after the Russian rotation. So whatever we do, we're very much on the trust and confidence of the competent friends from the West.
Thank you very much, Jari. I want to give, because we are going to wrap up our session, I want to give the last comment to you, Sebastian, because you are young, you live in the Arctic, and yesterday you were in a panel with the foreign minister. What are your thoughts about the future? Are you optimistic?
Thank you for that, Görel. I'm very optimistic, and when I'm here with such great people and high influential people, I want to say it's important to finance the Nordic collaboration. The Barents Sports Game is founded from the Barents Secretariat, and it has been founded with Norway, Sweden, and Finland last year. But it's mainly founded because of Russia. So it's important that the Finland government, the Swedish government, and also the Norwegian government supports the collaboration, also financial. Because as a youth in the Arctic region, I'm very optimistic. I see a lot of opportunities, great opportunities, and I think it will become better, but it will take time. And I hope one day my children or grandchildren can play football against the Russian team, as I did some years ago.
Thank you very much. So I want to thank you all for coming. I think we can conclude from our very strong speakers and panels today that we need trust, shared values, we need culture, we need to talk positively about the Arctic, and we need our capitals to remember the Arctic. We need to strengthen the Nordic cooperation and the Nordic-Baltic cooperation, and we need money.
That's a good ending.
Thank you.